I'm Nova M. Biamonte, and we are here at Star Trek Strange New Worlds New York City premiere from Paramount Plus. Hi, how are you doing this evening?
How are you?
Good. You look absolutely lovely. Can we know who you're wearing?
Pamela Rowland.
Yes, I love the shout out. So I would love to know, as a little girl watching Star Trek, did you ever envision that you would be part of this franchise, and how does that feel to you?
Never in a million years. It's really a pinch me moment. The first time that we walked onto the bridge set, which was on the second season of Discovery, it was like a physical reaction that we had. Like, I just couldn't believe I was standing there on the bridge, because I watched the original series with my mom when I was a kid, and it was just, even just getting fitted in my gold uniform, I was like, oh my gosh, it's magical. Yeah.
That is amazing. And I'd love to know, what do you kind of bring as an actor to your process in regards to creating your character?
Well, I mean, I guess we work very hard. I would say a strong, solid work ethic is how we're most alike. Una, number one, is very meticulous and very good at her job and really kind of hides behind her work. I don't like to think of myself as intimidating, which Una is, but I would say strong, solid work ethic more than anything. Yeah.
And also, I noticed that you're so drawn to sci-fi movies too, like the X-Men franchise, Star Trek. What is it about that world that's so magical to you that you choose to keep coming back to that specific genre?
I think that the most interesting female characters are within that genre. And as a mother of little girls, I like to create shows that they will be impressed by, that they can come see. And I work a job that sometimes takes me away from my daughters for weeks and months at a time. So whatever it is that I'm working on, I want them to be able to enjoy it with me. So really, yeah.
And what do you hope that the audience takes away from this?
I hope they embrace it as much as we've been enjoying making it. There's a certain nostalgia that goes with the original series. We're really trying to embrace the optimism of the original series, and it's just a fantastic platform for storytelling. There's always a message in there. There's hopefully some kind of a takeaway. I mean, you can watch it for the entertainment, but you can also have conversations at the end of it. So,
how are you feeling? This is such a huge evening with the premiere.
I'm feeling great. It's super exciting to be here. We've been filming for a long time, so it's really gratifying and satisfying for this to be premiering finally. Yeah.
And I want to know, watching Star Trek and growing up with it, did you ever feel the pressure with this role? I mean, it's such a huge role to fill, so how did you handle that?
Are you kidding me? Yeah, of course I felt a huge amount of pressure. I still feel it. Every day is a new challenge, a new situation for Spock to sort of figure out and be alive, and I'm kind of responsible. I'm the custodian at the moment, so it's a pretty wild experience, yeah.
And I would love to know, as an actor, how do you go about choosing your roles, and what really draws you into choosing a project to work on?
It all depends on who hires me. So I do my best in my auditions, and I get cast sometimes, and sometimes it's something extraordinary like this, and I feel incredibly lucky.
That is the realness that we love.
And it's true.
And I would love to know, so in regards to the last Star Trek version and this version, what are the biggest similarities and differences that we could see maybe?
You're referring to Kelvin, the Kelvin films? Well, firstly, it's different timelines. So we're the prime timeline, and my Spock will become Nimoy's Spock. And then there are a bunch of, narrative differences that I couldn't really articulate in this moment, but they're totally different universes in a lot of ways.
And what do you hope that the audience takes away from this?
I hope that they are inspired to be more curious about themselves, about their worlds, to embrace what's different and unknown, to run towards fear and to celebrate diversity.
Amazing. Thank you so much, and congratulations. We look forward to seeing it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello.
How are you doing this evening?
Good. How are you this evening? We're from the
Nocturnal. Yes,
all right.
Nova from the Nocturnal.
Okay.
So I would love to know, you're third captain on the Star Trek crew, and since the 60s. How does that role feel? Because those are some big shoes to fill. And also, what did you bring to that specific role?
I think it's a tremendous sense of responsibility. This is one of the things in American television you do not want to screw up. I told the writers from the beginning, if William Shatner's Kirk brought machismo, and if Jean-Luc Picard brought the brains, I want Pike to bring the heart. And I think that they agreed with that, and that's what we've tried to do.
And can you elaborate a little bit on that, kind of what characteristics you brought to the character?
I hope I brought a sense of humor and a sense of wonder. In a sense, I have discovered that in television, in a way, you want your protagonist to embody the qualities of the vehicle of the show. In Hell on Wheels, it was westward expansion, the railroad, and here it's the Enterprise. And what is the function of the Enterprise? And in some way, I have to embody that as a captain.
And what would you say was the biggest challenge in this role? And what would you say surprised you with this role?
The biggest challenge of the role, my goodness. Not too much has been challenging simply because it's so much fun to do. I think the technobabble can be an interesting slog at times. But some of the joy that I discovered in doing the show is the sets are often 360. So when you walk onto the sets, you feel like you are on the Enterprise. And as a fan, there is a moment every single day where I look around and I go, I'm on Star Trek? That's crazy.
What would you tell that little boy watching Star Trek?
I'm not sure that I would spoil the surprise. I would just tell him to keep playing pretend, keep having fun at pretend, and try not to worry so much.
And when creating your role, did you reference the previous captains, or did you want to create an entirely new version?
I wanted Pike to be Pike, but also I wanted it to be, it's a different era of Pike, and I wanted him to bring something obviously that the other captains hadn't brought. And for me, that's a lot of heart.
And what do you hope that the audience takes away?
And humility. Sorry, what was that?
What do you hope that the audience takes away from this version of it?
I'm really hoping that our audience has the same feeling I had when I was 8 years old, every Sunday night at 6 o'clock when I turned to Channel 13 and was excited to find out not only where the Enterprise would end up, but where the Enterprise would begin. And that's the beauty of doing an episodic show with Star Trek, is because it is a different world each week.
And how do you feel bringing in that new generation that's younger?
It feels amazing, especially when I get to go and I meet the fans and I meet multi-generational families and the kids who are being introduced to it for the first time. It means the world.
So I'm loving the fit. Can we start off with who you're wearing?
Oh, I am wearing Oswald Boateng, the man himself, Oswald Boateng from London.
Love the shout out. So I would love to know, as a little boy, most likely watching Star Trek, did you maybe dream one day that you'd be part of the franchise? And how does that feel to you?
You know, as a little boy, I dreamed of many things. And Star Trek, being a part of Star Trek, is definitely, it's extremely touching. It's extremely gratifying that little boy could find his way into something as beautiful as the legacy of Star Trek. I remembered Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock very well, and one of my giddiest days on set, was to be able to say, "Hello, Mr. Spock," so childhood dreams, and visiting other planets, it's been, it's a very, very special thing.
That's so wonderful. And I would love to know, as an actor, you're always drawn to, for instance, mostly sci-fi movies, Dune, Black Mirror, Star Trek. What specifically draws you into that world, and how do you choose your projects?
Well, I mean, a lot of those things have been blessings. They came my way. A number of them, the majority of those pieces you just mentioned came looking for me because of past work that the cast and people had gotten their hands on. But it's a privilege. It's a privilege. It's an honor. It's it's the dream of every actor. So it's interesting that there's a sci-fi element to all these things, but I think it simply means that, perhaps I should say humbly, that people with vision find their way towards me.
Can we know who you're wearing this evening? You look magical.
I'm wearing Pamela Rowland. Yeah. Shout out Pamela. Love you, girl.
So I want to say congratulations. And also, I wanted to ask my primary question.
Yeah.
The transition from Broadway to TV and film, how does that feel and how was that sort of process like?
I mean, the schedule is a little crazy. It's 12-hour days as opposed to 8 shows a week. So I guess the math of it, if I could do math, it would probably balance out. But I really, really enjoy having an opportunity to watch myself. That's the only thing in Broadway that I wish I had access to without like watching somebody's illegal stream on YouTube. But I really love the opportunity to like look at myself on TV and get used to that, because now I'm about to go watch myself on the biggest screen I've ever seen. And so yeah, it's really, really incredible.
So when you see yourself, and before it was live, and now you're seeing yourself back, do you feel more pressure as an actor, and do you kind of want to watch or you don't want to watch?
Half of me really wants to watch. I think like the excited, giddy inner child who's always wanted to do this is like, oh my god, I'm finally getting to watch it. And then my inner teen who's like very self-conscious, like, I don't know how I feel about being perceived by other people. That's something I'm anxious about. But I mean, the thing about this is that there's no room for apprehension. It is full steam ahead. We are boldly going, and I'm so honored to be a part of the ride.
I would love to know, what was the greatest challenge, would you say, with this role, and maybe the greatest surprise?
The greatest challenge with this role, honestly, was finding a clear line of separation between Celia and Uhura, because so much of the storytelling intersects with what is going on with my personal life as a young person in this industry. And so there were many times where like I had to pull back and be like, this is not Celia's moment. This is for Uhura. This is not for Celia. And the greatest accomplishment, I think, is finally having an opportunity to give this character the representation that she has been long overdue for. We don't really know a lot about Uhura from the original series, and so to finally have a modern, glamorized version of her, it's incredible. I'm so glad to be a part of this opportunity, because even outside of me and my place in this role, I'm so excited that Uhura gets to speak for herself in a way that she was not allowed to years before.
And this is such a huge franchise. Did you ever think as a little girl that you'd be in Star Trek one day?
No, I did not. I thought I was going to do musicals for the rest of my life, and I hope to do musicals for the rest of my life, but I never thought that I would be a part of a sci-fi series. I'm very much a reality TV girl. I love my trash television, but love it. But I never imagined myself in sci-fi, and now that I'm in it, I'm like, oh yeah, this is where I've been meant to be for a while, because there's almost an aspect of like camp and I wish it's almost fantasy. It's not real. It's fictional, obviously, but it has that. It reminds me of theater in a way of like we're really going in the far scope of what's possible for us in this show. So I think Star Trek is a perfect meld of like the energy of Broadway and also the energy of TV and the storytelling that we're doing.
That energy and camp. That's a great way to summarize.
Trek is so campy. And as a very campy person myself, I am really excited to be a part of it.
Just in time for Met Gala weekend.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's the thing. I'm like scrolling through like when is it starting?
How are you feeling this evening with the premiere?
I'm feeling jittery with excitement. I feel like there's too much energy in my body, but I think that I'm going to be okay. And I'm very excited. Yeah.
And did you feel any pressure with the Star Trek family and the franchise in regards to acting and filling in those big shoes?
I think initially it was daunting, but it's such an incredible family. Like, it really is so supportive. And I think, Star Trek has always had this very like compassionate, thoughtful message, and that permeates throughout the fan base and the production and the cast, and it's always just so everybody just wants the best for each other. So the moment that I actually started to meet people and hear from the fans, it was just like, this is fine and great and let's go. But it's also like, it's so big that sometimes you have to really work to not be overwhelmed by it. You're like, everything's fine. This is no big deal. Yeah, it's cool. I'm just in space. No big deal,
No big deal. And what would you say was the biggest challenge in your role?
Ooh. I think what I just said was just like every day going to work and be like, this is totally normal, Like, the sets are wild.
I believe it.
The imagining that we have to do is really big. So I think the challenge is just maintaining an even keel and being like chill, but also totally invested, like finding that balance.
Find that sort of like safety zone.
Yeah,
yes,
like
I
this is
love
everything
it.
to me, but also have fun.
Yes. And what do you hope that the audience takes away from this version of Star Trek?
Oh, I hope that I hope that it's a more like an accessible entry point for people that aren't as familiar with Star Trek, and also just like a really like heartwarming and nostalgic and satisfying experience for people who are longtime Star Trek fans that have always wanted to hear this part of the story that has never been told before.
So what are you wearing? You look amazing.
I am wearing Greta Constantine, and I absolutely love her. I hadn't heard of her. That's probably, on my behalf, that's not great. But I hadn't heard of her before getting ready for this show. But I since have realised how much she is my vibe and my style, like the bright, bold colours and the smooth kind of like silky dilky. And yeah, I love her. And this, I mean, how much more dramatic can you get?
Dramatic. I love it for a dramatic evening. I love it.
Yeah.
So how are you feeling about this premiere, and what are you most looking forward to?
For me, I'm going to cry. When the opening credits roll, like, I watched them on the plane over from Toronto, and I suddenly just hit me, like, how big of a thing this is for the fans, and understanding the community around it and everything. I was like, oh, I get it now. Like, I really get it. And to be a part of that, I feel so grateful.
And the fan base is huge, so did you feel any pressure, kind of taking on that sort of role?
Well, no, because I wasn't a Trek fan before, so I didn't understand the gravity of it or the pressure, which I'm kind of glad about, because I think it would have been a bit daunting, like coming in going, oh my god, pressure,
kind of step back.
How do I do this? But so it's kind of been slowly, step by step, as I've been, during season 1 and then especially season 2, I came back more kind of like, a Star Trek know-it-all kind of, and so now I feel like I'm here it's like the penultimate kind of like moment right now, going into there where I'm going to experience the whole, because I haven't seen the episode, so it's like
actually
open it. Yeah, so it's going to be for me walking in there as like the ultimate kind of like, yeah.
How are you feeling this evening?
Wonderful, because we're talking to fans and we're talking to the press, and the press are like fans because you guys are all so excited about the show, and we've been sitting on this like beautiful secret treasure work of art that we've been trying to put together, and so we're really excited that it's finally going to be out in the world.
Yes, definitely, and congratulations on the premiere. It's so cute.
Thank you. So cute. I love that like we have like command gold as our carpet, but everyone's having a blast, and I'm happy to be here.
I would love to know, what was your greatest challenge and maybe greatest surprise with creating your role?
Sure. So my greatest challenge was definitely piloting the starship, because I felt like that was an important thing to get across. And it's funny because I was thinking about it. Somebody was just like, "It's so method of you," and I'm not really a method actor, I wouldn't think. But that for me was just like a big part of it. Like I really want fans to get that Ortegas loves what she does, loves Starfleet, trusts her crew. And really, like, the Enterprise is her baby, and she absolutely loves her job. So I wanted that to get across, and in order for that to get across, you need to be proficient at what you do, and so that's such a part of the acting. And then probably the easiest part was that the showrunners, the creators, the writers, they all made it really easy for us to infuse our own brand of who we are and our personalities into the characters, and so in that way we kind of helped shape the characters, and that was a really wonderful thing. So I've said this before, but I was just like, if I could be someone like in the future, I'd want to be Ortegas. Like she's just super cool. Like to me, she's kind of like a superhuman, but not like she's a human just doing like super cool things. And so for me, I feel like that's a real thing that fans can relate to, and I hope they fall in love with her as I have, and I'm really, really grateful to be bringing her to the screen and that I was given the opportunity to do so.
This is such a huge franchise, so did you ever feel the pressure as an actor to pretty much live up to this role?
Yes, well, the pressure is definitely on because I think even before we started filming, like I have Trekkies in my life. You discover that there's a lot of people in your life who are Trekkies when they find out you've booked Star Trek.
It gets personal.
Yeah, it gets very personal. But I remember one of my brother-in-laws, he texted me and he was just like, I just have one question. Is it Strange New Worlds? And I was like, yeah, I thought you knew that. And he's just like, oh my goodness. He's like, this is the one we've been waiting for. And I was just like,
no pressure.
Right. And I'm like, so that's where we are. So I'm like, no pressure, but all the pressure. And from fans just this whole past year, that's what we've been getting. This is the show we've been waiting for the last 40 years. Somebody was just like, since I was born, this is the show I was waiting for. And these are all like really really hardcore Star Trek fans. And what someone said the other day, a member of the press, they were just like, not only is this Strange New Worlds, because they saw some of the episodes, but they said, this is Star Trek. This is what we love about Star Trek, and this is what the fans are going to love. It's an adventure per episode, yet you see the characters as they grow with each other, and I can't wait to share it with the world. I can't wait to get the feedback.
And you got a confirmation from your audience.
Yes, absolutely. And so, and we're working on season 2. So we can't say anything, but we're working on season 2, which is always a great sign. So
thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing it.
Awesome. Thank you. Awesome.
How are you doing this evening?
Very well. How are you?
Good. So I would love to know, as someone who most likely grew up watching Star Trek,
Yes.
how do you feel about these new versions, and what are you most excited for the audience to see?
I absolutely love this show. It's bringing all the old feeling of Star Trek back. I'm really looking forward to hearing how the fans they're going to dig it, and I'm thrilled for that. And what they connect to with these characters, and it looks and sounds amazing.
I love that. And then also, what kind of vision do you believe that the director provided and the producers provided for this new version of Star Trek?
Well, it's it's capturing the feeling of what Star Trek had in the original series. It's pushing the characters in directions that it's authentic to what we know of them, but it deepens them in a way. And we get introduced to some new aliens, which is always exciting.
And what do you hope that the audience takes away from this?
Hope. It's all about hope, yeah.
And why do you say that, specifically in this time? Is there a specific reason?
Well, it shows people working together. It shows how the future can be really positive and friendly, and it's just such a thrill.
Love it. Positivity and hope for the future. Great way to end it.
We need more of that, don't we?
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much, and enjoy. Congratulations. So how excited are you for this premiere this evening?
I'm really excited. The show's been a long time in coming, and it's always great to put it in front of an audience. It's the best thing ever.
What was your process like in regards to creating this vision and having it all come together?
Well, it's interesting because the lineage of the show goes back to the original series. So it's like the longest gestating pilot in the history of time. But I had the privilege of getting to direct the premiere episode of Season 2 of Discovery, and that was the first Captain Pike episode and the first Enterprise episode. And I kind of had a very strong sense after my first day with Anson that there was something really extraordinary there, and that if there were ever going to be a chance to bring back Captain Pike and to tell the story of the Enterprise before the TOS crew came on board, he was going to be our best chance of getting there.
This is such a huge series, and overall it's been iconic for years, generations, since the 60s. Did you feel any sort of pressure with creating this vision for the fan base, and will they like it, will they not? How did you feel, and how did you deal with that? There's always pressure, and I think when the pressure goes away, you probably shouldn't be in the job anymore. But yeah, it's a huge responsibility because it's people's childhoods. They remember, They remember the original series and what it meant to them and what it did for television and what it said about representation on television in such an extraordinary way. It's deep, and it was like the first one that did it. And so we're standing on the shoulders of all the greats who created the original series, and then all the series that came, between ours now and theirs then. So it's a lot of responsibility. Every Trek show that we do carries like a very specific and unique kind of responsibility. And what do you hope that the audience takes away from this? I think they're gonna get a real shot of nostalgia from the show, right? So it'll scratch that itch. But if you're somebody who doesn't know Star Trek, you should be able to drop into it, I think, pretty easily, because unlike our other shows, it's not serialized. It's emotionally serialized. The characters are taking their experiences episode to episode. But this one, if you missed the last episode or the one that comes after, it doesn't matter. You can drop in. It will be a self-contained story, a beginning, middle, and an end, and I think that will make it accessible too. I love that, and the new generations come on board too. Yes, exactly, and the old generation gets to feel like, obviously like a kid again. How are you doing this evening? We're at the premiere.
Well, thank you. Very exciting. Absolutely, yes.
And as executive producer, what was really your vision with telling this version of Star Trek?
I think our vision really was to be as true as we could to Gene Roddenberry's original vision so long ago. As many may know, this crew, was actually Gene's very first attempt at Star Trek in the original pilot. And now, 56 years later, it gets to come to fruition, and it has amazing characters in it, 2 of which were actually originally played by Gene's wife, Majel Roddenberry, the matriarch of our company. So we're very, very excited to finally see it on screen.
Amazing. And I'd like to know, what are some of the similarities or differences between Discovery and now with this version?
I'll start with differences, I guess. Difference storytelling-wise, this is a much more episodic show. So the storytelling is very, very different. It's much more cut into, story after story after story with certain long arcing things. I also think that it's during different time of the Star Trek universe, and with that comes a different way of that the Federation is, a different way that perhaps our protagonists will tackle issues, and of course it's just a whole different feel given it's a different crew on a different ship.
Definitely. And speaking of crew, what was the collaboration kind of like on set, and did you offer any advice to the actors or maybe even the director?
Yeah, I knew some of the actors from when they were in Discovery season 2, which also included some of this cast, and it was fascinating to be able to take that experience and then bring it to a whole new place where you got to explore these characters much more fully and in their own right on their own series. So with that, I think that the ability of making it their own and finding the family that every Star Trek seems to have among their crew was really probably key.
Amazing. Thank you so much, and congratulations. We look forward to seeing it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.